Peace, family. I want to welcome you to Gye-Nyame Journey. I am sitting here right now, and it is my pleasure to go on and do an interview that I've been waiting for a while. But first, family, I want to welcome you to the congregation of the mighty, the home of the stubborn minority, the place where your hustle, roll it forward, where your hustle builds muscle. This is Gye-Nyame Journey Media. Get together, anime. This is the Heart of a Simba production, and right now we on Gye-Nyame Talks. Kind of lazy, but we strive to blow up your old paradigm. I'm trying to tell you this bitch, man. Give me the blues. You know what I'm saying? They ain't got to do nothing but cry and stuff. But family, tonight we are joined on a journey. My brother from another mother. This is one of my mentors. And what I really want to talk with him about, we're going to talk about his new book. But first, let me let you know who this is. This brother is Philippe Mathews, and he does the Philippe Mathews Show. I'm going to read a little bit about Mr. Philippe so that y'all know who we talking about, who we've been blessed to hit this mic with. Philippe Mathews, a.k.a. the Metaphysical Morpheus, is an international thought leader, information entrepreneur, and best-selling author who is currently the executive director of the How Movement, a nonprofit dedicated to eradicating generational illiteracy and generational poverty. He has written and published several books and ebooks in the genres of personal, professional, and spiritual development, and is best known as the host of the Philippe Mathews Show Live, which airs worldwide via Google Hangouts on air and has secured over 1 million. That's 1 with 60 readers, listeners, and viewers collectively worldwide. Co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul with Mark Victor Hansen. And in fact, Mark Victor Hansen has called Brother Philippe the Oprah of the internet. Family, if you would, give Brother Philippe a round of applause. I don't know what's going on with my spiritual people.
Uncle Johnson there, my brother. What's going on? Actually, though, I got it. That's an old bio, man. Because we're at 4.6 million now.
Time out. Is that 4 followed by a 4
yeah,
and a 6?
4.6 million. Yeah, we're working on our 5 million now, man. Yeah, that was an old bio. I was like, oh, wow. You know, I think I'm on my 18th book now.
You on your 18th book?
Yeah.
Man, how do you find time for all this, man? You're gonna break it down for the people.
I don't sleep.
I mean,
no, you know, well, you know me. We're very much the same. You and I and Kava. We're researchers. We're always trying to find the answer. And so over years, I just collect so much data from so many interviews, from reading so many books. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to release the Philippe Mathews Show top 50 books of 2019. So it's the 50 books that I've read this year, and sharing it with the community. I mean, you know, so it's just so much content, and then I take all of that content and absorb it, and then I put it back out into. I take the European and I take the African, and I mix it together, and I bring it and I put that African stank on it and put it back out to the community to help enlighten the community.
So how did you get started doing what you do, right? I mean, because I mean, hey, we got time. Let's
that goes back, dude. That's a long journey. How did I get started? Let's see. Okay, so, well, I'm from Chicago, so this started in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I started, I guess you can honestly say, in like 1998. I started with my first .com. And my first .com was called an Empowerment Hub. And I interviewed, at that time, this was the time I was assimilated. Like if you study Dr. Obadishaka's 6-fold stages, the first stage is assimilation. So I was assimilated brother. I had a black identity, but I didn't have an African identity. Didn't know my history, didn't know anything. I just knew that, I had a gift of gab. I had the gift of research, and I had a quest to create wealth and to end generational wealth. Going back into my childhood, I come from generational poverty. I was on welfare. So I wanted to get out. So I had an online magazine. This was 4 years after the internet went up. So the internet went up in 94. I came on in 98. And I started interviewing everybody that you saw on Oprah. I started interviewing Susie Orman, Marianne Williamson, who I still know to this day. That's why I have so many interviews with her. Deepak Chopra, the late Wayne Dyer. Les Brown, who's a motivational speaker who really got me in the game, Zig Ziglar and Mark Victor Hansen, and just all of the top players in self-help, personal growth, and spiritual development at that time. And Susan Taylor from Essence Magazine. I did a lot of entertainers from Stanley Burrell. Most people don't know that name, but that's MC Hammer. The late Gerald Levert, the late Phyllis Hyman, En Vogue. So I was in that era. And as I started continuing to do interviews, which at that time was on the phone, they were called phoners. I didn't have, all the technology we have today. So I literally would hand translate, or transcribe rather, my audio tapes. Right. And so I would write them down and write the articles, and then I would put them up and do a damn thing. And so that's kind of how I got started. And then over a course of from 98 to 2005, I had accumulated and amassed, world-class interviews and world-class thought leaders, and moved from Chicago, fell in love, found my goddess, my queen. Moved from Chicago here to Sacramento, took a hiatus, and relaunched the Philippe Mathews show on YouTube and also on Blog Talk Radio. So I launched the radio show. I don't remember when I launched it, but it was first, and then I did the YouTube. And then when Google Hangout came about, probably about a year into Google Hangout, after they got all the bugs worked out, I launched my first live show, and haven't looked back. And then, of course, the story as it goes, probably about, going on now 5 years, January 15th will be 5 years. I saw, in 2014, I saw Hidden Colors 1, and saw this brother who was just knowledgeable. He had a certain, as they say, a je ne sais quoi, a certain decorum. And I said, that's a bad dude. I said, I would love to interview him. And so I called him up, and he picked up the phone. That was Professor Kabahia Wathakamene. And the rest is literally history. And I interviewed, of course, Dr. Joy DeGruy and some of the other people that you've seen on Hidden Colors. And that first interview changed me. It literally changed me. I can look back on my life and know that there was probably a handful of people whom I've met and interviewed, and after interviewing them, I wasn't the same again. It was like I went to another level, and Kaba was one of those dudes.
All right, so what in Kaba's interview made that helped you in that shift? What was it that sparked what we know today as Philippe Mathews? Because this is where I met you. Go ahead.
Right. A lot of things. So one of them was I was experiencing racism, but because I was assimilated, I didn't know it was racism. It was racial battle fatigue. And basically, what racial battle fatigue is when you are assimilated, meaning that you don't even know that you're not awake. You think you are, but you're not. So when you don't know, racial battle fatigue shows up as well, maybe if I work a little harder, maybe if I do better, maybe if I smile more, maybe if I'm more friendly, maybe if I take some courses on how to win friends and influence people, maybe I'll be accepted, maybe I'll make it. I didn't know that that was racism. I didn't know that was racial battle fatigue. And I hella didn't know that it was wreaking havoc on my body mentally and spiritually. So when I saw Hidden Colors, it was a game changer. It was just flat out. I was like, holy cow, like most people when they saw Hidden Colors for the first time. And so I was curious to know where white people came from.
Right.
Because I, you know, throughout the years, I have just had bad interfaces with Europeans, period. And I was surrounded by them. And I also noticed that particularly when I was launching my .com, I was fascinated by how many of them literally almost like white roaches just came into my life and tried to control me and tried to control my narrative. And they couldn't. I've always bucked authority. That's just a black thing. And I always wanted to do it my way because it's my show, it's my question, and it's my life. And so I wanted to know what was going on here. What am I missing? You know, I came from a metaphysical background. When I was 10 years old, I started attending Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman's church in Chicago, Christ Universal Temple, and Reverend Dr. Helen Carey. So I had a spiritual foundation, but it was from a black, you know, from a female minister. So that was my black identity. That's the second stage in the sixfold stages Dr. Obadiah Shaka talks about in the sixfold stages of mental freedom. So I had a black identity. I had a metaphysical black identity, but I was assimilated. I was still trying to make white people accept me. I was still trying to fight through the white. I knew racism existed, but I did not know how it impacted me, impacted my family, and literally wrote my story. I didn't know that. So when I talked to Kava and he started telling me where these people came from, how we came to be, that there was a story much older than the story of slavery, I was blown away. And you know, for some of us who now have, for some of the people who are watching who've been in the game of consciousness for a long time, you know, it probably sounds like I'm like, how did you not know? It's like, well, brother, the reason I'm good at what I do is because I was not this guy that is sitting before you right now. I was the complete opposite. I didn't believe in the African stuff. I just would look at guys, you know, and gals who were wearing African garb and and all of that. I didn't have anything. I didn't know anything. I didn't know my culture. I didn't know my history.
Because because one of the things we run into is that in the world that you was existing in, and in the world that a majority of our people are existing in, because I want them to catch this point with you. In that position, it's almost like you couldn't afford it, because if you was to stop and do that, you deep down inside, we know that that's going to tear up what we have. We're going to have to start over. You know what I'm saying?
That's
because
exactly what happened, bro. That's exactly what happened. So, and man, dude, you would think I told you this story before, because you're right on it. I had a moment when I was about, I guess about 45, 46. I just turned 54. I had a moment, I was reading Dr. Joy DeGruy's first time reading Dr. Joy DeGruy's post-traumatic slave syndrome. Because again, this was the interface when I first saw Hidden Colors. She was on there. I said, who is this sister? So I went and got the book. I read the book, true story, in the kitchen. I walked into the kitchen and I'm probably halfway through the book. I'm not even finished with the book. And I dropped to my knees, man, and I cried like in the fetal position. It was the most cathartic pain that I've ever felt, because what I realized was that for 46 years, my life was being written by Europeans. I was not in control of it. And I said, oh my God, what have I done? I was the dude. This is why I developed the 4 metaphysical frequencies. And I developed and delineated the Negro versus the nigger versus the second frequency, European versus first frequency. Because I was that Negro who was trying to fit in, trying to go along to get along. I didn't want to hang out with niggers. I didn't want to be in that group, but I would be able to code switch within my group, right? So this is real talk because we're this is family. And so I dropped to my knees and I was just crying uncontrollably because I said, what the fuck? This can't be real. This can't be happening. That was my awakening. That's, everybody has different processes of how they become quote unquote woke or awakened. That was mine. And it was in that moment that I made a decision, the best decision I've ever made in my life, but also the hardest. And that was, I'm not going to work with or for white people ever again. Ever again. I'm just not going to do it. And I made great money working with these people, but the cost of my integrity, the cost of my health, mentally and physically, my queen can tell you horror stories of what I went through working with them. And so again, when you're assimilated with a Black identity, you think, oh, well, maybe this is paying my dues. There's no fucking such thing. There's no fucking such thing as paying your dues when you're already good at what the fuck you do.
Man, listen, dude, because you
pardon my French, because everybody know I'm a cussing minister.
Me too. Hey, I cuss right along with you, brother. Listen, because you
got it. That's the trauma reflex. Trauma's trying to get out. I'm just reflexive. I'm like, this shit don't make no damn sense. We got to do something here.
None, because it's like, because you hear some motivational speakers. Because for me, the motivational speak in my life wasn't lining up.
Right.
You're not getting up early enough.
Well, I was a motivational speaker. I hung out with Les Brown. I interviewed Les Brown for 20 years, right? I know his entire story, his entire family. He's a great guy. But as I started doing this thing, I realized, wait a minute, there's a cost to lie to people. Motivational speaking is convincing people to work harder for white people.
That's what it is. Get up early.
Now look,
work harder.
There's some, hey, there was a time I'd never say that shit publicly. But I have worked with one-on-one the best motivational speakers in the world. Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Dr. Dennis Waitley, Les, the list goes on and on. I've been in the mix. And when I really looked at what this blueprint was and the cost that even Les Brown paid, I'm looking at his racial battle fatigue and the price that he paid.
Right.
He almost died of cancer. It was Dr. Johnny Coleman that helped him cure his cancer and put his cancer in remission because the frequencies of racial battle fatigue was kicking his ass. And this dude was at some point making $50 million a year doing speaking engagements for white corporations around the country and around the world. He was the best in the world, the best of the best, and he still is. But the cost to his family, the cost to his relationships and marriages, to the cost to his health, that's racial battle fatigue. But we think, oh, that's just life. No, that's living an assimilated life. That is
a life that's not your own.
Hey, there it is. So when we look at, again, I'm always going to go back to, because I'm doing a training at the same time I'm telling the story. When we look at Dr. Ober Shaka's 6-fold stages, so we've got assimilation with a Black identity. The next stage, third stage, is pre-disturbance. Something ain't right. Something's not right. You can't quite put your finger on it. You don't have language or context for it yet. You don't have a vocabulary for it yet. And, I had some type of angst and felt some kind of way about this whole African thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm pre-disturbed because I'm experiencing racism, but it looks like, oh, Philippe, you're just not good enough. They talk to you this way and treat you this way to make you better. That's the price you pay, not knowing that it was blatant racism. And then you move into disturbance. And disturbance is where, that is where the angry black man and the angry black woman are born. In disturbance. When you are disturbed, you are pissed the fuck off at everything. Because now you realize, hey, it ain't my damn fault. This is happening to me. Nothing's wrong with me. That is when you wake up. And then you're forced, in a sense, to find out who you are as a person and as a people. My interview with Professor Kaba was that genesis of African identity, because he taught me where we came from, how white people became white. I learned about the worm ice age. I didn't know any of this language. I didn't know about the ice. But people, what? I thought it was a myth. Dude, never told this to anybody publicly. I was so assimilated that I thought all that shit was a myth. I thought, that's just crazy shit. That's just crazy talk. That's just angry. That's just angry black men and women talking, whatever. Until I started unpacking the history. And I looked at Hidden Colors. I talked to Kaba. I interviewed Dr. Joy DeGruy. And I believe that was the precipice that caused my blood clots. Because it turned me inside out and it almost killed me. A lot of people don't understand these frequencies, that becoming woke, depending upon how it intersects and how you go into it, it can freaking kill you.
It will kill you.
It can freaking kill you.
Now, when I went through mine, I was young. So it not only could kill you, it could hurt people around you, or put you in positions to where you will hurt other people because you are so angry and so hurt. And like you said, it's like
I felt captured for the first time. For the first time, I felt like a slave. I felt captured.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like somebody controlled my entire life and boundaries. I'm like, well, fuck. Is the house that I'm living in really the house that I had the choice to choose? Because of redlining, there was choices made prior to that my mom and my dad went through that they didn't have a choice.
Right.
You think that house is like, that's your house. No.
Right.
It's not your fucking house.
Right.
It's not your car.
It was chosen for you.
It was chosen for you. It's not your education or lack thereof. It was chosen for you.
A painful truth that you have to deal with.
That messed me, bro. Dude, I'm still, as you see, I'm all hyped up about it. I feel some kind of way.
Listen,
it's real.
But the process that you're going through is the process that many people that will see this will either identify with or will have to go through themselves.
See yourself in this conversation, family. See yourself. See yourself in this conversation. See your family in this conversation. You can see it.
Because a lot of people are in denial of this, and because they are in denial.
Absolutely, I was.
Right, and it'd be like boom, like I said, because one of the pieces that I had to come to terms with, and because I used, with the even up into my early 40s. I really started getting into mine went a little bit in reverse of yours. I came into consciousness in my early 20s.
Wow.
I started, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So then I'm working in the world and shit is not working. And I did everything that I'm prescribed to do, and it's not coming together. Right. And I'm trying to figure this out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Am I not good enough? And then you start running into the motivational piece. You're not getting up early enough. You're not putting enough effort forward. Right. You're not. You should be the first one on your job and the last one to leave. And you know what I'm saying? But yet and still, it was an emptiness there that by denying who I was and my position, I was robbing myself and I was robbing everybody around me. So at a certain time, I thought I was lost. You know what I'm saying? But then once again, I had to plug back into what I came out of. You know what I'm saying? Because all of us have to go through that. That's that dark moment.
It's a rites of passage.
There you go.
It's a rites of passage.
It's that
like
initiation.
The work that you do is so critical. It's ridiculous because you need somebody like you to help me walk through this shit that this minefield of emotions that I'm feeling for the first time. I've never felt these type of emotions before. I never felt that kind of rage. It's rage.
Who did you reach out to talk to about the rage that was coming up in you? Was there anybody around for you? Because you moved out of your home place, Chicago, because it would have been, but you in Sacramento now.
Right. And let me tell you, I wreaked some havoc in Sacramento too, goddamn it. I'm just saying, shit. You wonder why I don't leave the goddamn house. There might be people looking for my black ass. I was so high strung, man. I was a wreck. I was an absolute wreck. I was angry all the time. So racial battle fatigue, when it's not properly diagnosed, manifests and looks like PTSD. That's what it looks like. You are all of those, you don't even know that you're in war and that you're in theater every day from the time that you're born. You never get a break because the signal never stops. Mm-hmm. And so you start drinking. Luckily I didn't do any drugs or anything like that, but I found what Dr. William A. Smith is the brother who did the research and coined the phrase racial battle fatigue. He was doing this research, how racial battle fatigue came to be a thing, an actual science, is he was doing a study. He's a professor in out of all the damn places, Utah, Provo, Utah. And he was looking at these students and saying, what's going on with the black students and what happens when they're interfacing with all these white people? And as he started doing this data and started doing the research, he started seeing himself in the data. Similar to what I was happening, was how I came to be, similar to your story. Everybody has a pre-disturbance story and disturbance story. And then he saw himself in the data and he noticed there was a fatigue. It was like, I have headaches, I have backaches, I have stomach aches, I have all kinds of things that you think are just stress. Well, let me tell you something, fam. Stress ain't fucking normal.
It's not.
Stress is not natural. All the shit that they say attribute to stress, diabetes and heart disease, and that shit's not natural. It comes from being constantly under this force field of racial battle fatigue. And over the time, it takes its toll. And you're trying to raise a family, you're trying to make money, you're trying to have some semblance of life. If you're working full time, you're living for the weekend, so you don't have time to do a deep study and a deep dive because you've got to get up and go and work for the white man the next day and be around all these white people. And the next thing you know, it's like the weekend and you're just trying to fucking escape. You're trying to anesthetize. You're trying to, watch a game or something like that because you got to get up Monday morning and go back with these some bitches, okay? And so mental illness is normal and natural in that situation. But I tell you what Kaba told me, and I put it in all my books. He says, and this was in his, when he did the movie with Amadeus Christ, Out of Darkness. There's a scene in there where he says, it is natural when you are in an unnatural environment to act unnaturally. So that hit me, and I for probably about 3 weeks, I contemplated that concept that he gave, that I am in an unnatural environment. And so it's natural that I'm going to act up and act out. Now, when you're a little boy, a little black girl and a little black boy, that's called ADD. because you are in a frequency that is going completely diametrically against your African consciousness, nature, and the way your African brain works, because African people think differently, have different completely different biology, particularly biological makeup and neurobiological makeup. And so you're bucking the system, you're fighting because you're trying to be natural, but it's nothing natural around you. Again, that's that pre-disturbance dynamic. And so Dr. William A. Smith teaches us that if we don't know what's happening, we automatically start to engage in maladaptive behavior. So that causes, what is that? Addictions. So addicted to sex, addicted to drugs, addicted to spending or debting, addicted to a bad personality, just all kind, argumentative, drama, the whole thing. Baby mama, baby daddy. Now, fast forward to now, I start developing this metaphysical framework, and I start stepping back, and I asked myself the question one night with my queen. I said, baby, when did I become a nigger? And exactly, silence. It was like silence. It's like, wait a minute. Am I a nigger? Am I a real nigger? Am I a Negro? Do I coon out sometimes? Yes. But wait a minute. Who made you a nigger? You are born into a frequency. You're born into an invisible cage. And you have only two choices. You only have two options. You'll either be a Negro, go along to get along, get a good job, get a good education, provide for your family. Don't rock the boat. Don't march or protest loudly. March silently. Don't take a knee. All of that. So you're in a, or you buck the Negro and say, fuck that. I'm gonna be a straight up real nigger. Now I've lowered my frequency because now that's the prison pipeline situation. I'm no good to nobody because I had to sit down and answer the questions. When did I become a broke ass nigga, a bitch ass nigga, a something for nothing ass nigga, a nothing ass nigga, a dumb ass nigga? I was all of these things. And I said, that's not consistent with what I see African people being, because now that I know my history, I know that people used to tell me, Europeans used to say, well, they would literally tell me to my face. I have a show that I did that's on my YouTube channel where this chick says, well, we are the chosen people. She said this to me on my show live.
Right.
She said, so I'm looking and said, well, how can you be chosen? Now, I didn't know then, but I know now. But I said, how can you be chosen if we were here first? And that means we were chosen by God first. So if you don't know your history and all you know is roots, then you think, well, maybe that's right. Maybe that has some validity.
Right.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Because I don't know anything beyond Chicken George and shit. I don't know nothing beyond Alex Haley. When I found out what we are and what we have done and the imprint that we've made on this planet, where there's a pyramid on every continent, in every city, in every state, in every part of the world, and that we built something that still can't be duplicated or replicated to this day, I said, wait a minute, that's first frequency right there. So if I'm first frequency, how can I be a Negro or a nigger if I'm first frequency? And who made me a nigger? Who made me a nigger that transferred into the Negro, that transferred into the nigger? Those are false identities. Now, when you live or forced to live, consciously or unconsciously, a false identity, when you wake up and move into that pre-disturbance and disturbance, you go into what's called an identity crisis. Okay? Now, an identity crisis, now mind you, I come from a metaphysical background, so some of the spiritual science language I understood. I did not know it was originally Dogon. I didn't know it was astrophysics. I didn't know it was our people.
You ain't know
I
it was
was
yours.
taught metaphysics, even though my queen mother, rest in peace, rest in power, Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman, was a strong Black woman. She was in that Negro frequency, but she was well beyond that, right? So I didn't know that then. So when I became pre-disturbed and disturbed, I learned that in quantum mechanics, there's a thing called a quantum event, a concept called a quantum event. A quantum event is when something happens where you can no longer go back to the way it used to be. You cannot go back to the original way it was. So it could be a death in the family. Somebody, my mother and father died when I was 14. That's a quantum event. It throws you into an identity crisis. It could be a breakup of a relationship. It could be a health challenge where you almost die. It could be a car accident. Those are quantum events where, now you walk with a limp, or you have a bad arm or bad shoulder. Something changes that you can't go back. When you find out who you really are, juxtaposition against the world, the physical world that you're living in, it creates an identity crisis. And when I discovered that we, not just me, but none of us are Negroes or niggers, that we're all first frequency. And I discovered that I was born and we were born netchers and taught how to be niggers and Negroes.
So that brings us to the subject of the discussion. You are creating a book called, hold on, I got it written down here.
Look at you, man. You got all my business out in the streets, out in these streets.
We talk, right?
Yeah, we do.
Talk, you know what I'm saying? I'm listening, but hold on, I got it written down here. You are not a nigger, you are a netcher. Yeah. So you kind of you led us up into this book. Give us a little bit more about this book. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm a netcher? For those that don't know, netter or netcher, what are you talking about?
You are the divine principles of Ma'at. You are the divine principles of the Creator. You and the Creator, and I'm actually moving away from the term God, but because that's a German word, and it's also a German word that creates separation, and that's what religion was, and all of that. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother thing, right? That was another talk about another identity crisis when I found out about Gaga, and like, okay, that's a whole and then the white boy on the stick is not real. Oh shit, okay, let's leave that alone because I know some people might be tripping. Okay, so a nature is a divine principle, the highest frequency, that you are God and you can manifest and co-create as a God, and that's what we did. Now, the book that sparked this for me was Professor Kaba's book that I had been working with him on for 4 years, Spirituality Before Religions. In the beginning of the book, he goes all the way back to how we merged and emerged into these spiritual masters. That it was so imagine that, quote unquote, the layperson in Africa manifested at the highest frequency, even though they might not have been a pharaoh or per-ah, or they might not have owned a kingdom or been a part of the dynasty, that the quote unquote lowest class of the African in that society had the highest mindset and was closest to God. That's where we come from. So I said, let me look at the etymology and say, who made me a nigger? Who did that? Well, obviously, the Amu or the European made me a nigger. Matter of fact, what's his name? D.L. Hughley says, The reason today he doesn't deal with Christianity or believe in it is because he said, y'all made me a nigger. Now, if you study Dr. Jacqueline Battlora, who is a historian, white chick, who found out, hey, she found out she was invented, that white people didn't exist. There was no such thing. It was a racial construct created in 1681. And so when you trace back the etymology of Negro, nigger, nigga, and all of those are false racial constructs and false identities that keep Black people concentrated, corralled, conditioned, and controlled. Because the moment that you start acting in your truest nature, as a nature, as a god, because we are gods, our females are goddesses. Now we in the Kemetic community refer to ourselves as kings and queens. And that's nice. That might help your self-esteem. But this is not self-esteem. This is just science. Let me ask you a question, brother. When you see a chicken if you've ever seen a chicken lay an egg, when that egg hatches, what's in that egg? What comes out?
A chicken. A chick.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. You got me there. Let me try another one. When the dog gives birth what comes out of that dog?
A little dog.
Okay.
Puppy.
All right. So you're really messing with my mind right now because, all right. So let me say, okay. So let's say a hippopotamus. When a hippopotamus gives birth, what comes out of the hippopotamus?
Baby hippo.
So when God creates his image, its image and likeness, what comes out? Another God.
Right. Right.
God
but
creates God.
Right.
God creates gods and goddesses, the female and male frequency and what have you. So when you realize that, you are unstoppable and undefeatable. And that is what Dr. Gabriel Oyibo calls Gagat. We are the first frequency. When the Creator gave him Gagat in 1990, he became, as he would say, the closest man to God, which means all of us are the closest to gods because we must be gods, because only the cosmic Creator creates cosmic people. So if you're created by a cosmic person, deity, then you must be a cosmic person.
Be a cosmic, right. Question for you.
Yes.
Because you've been mentioning these frequencies.
Yes.
And you just said we're first frequency. What do you mean by the frequency for those that might be new to that concept?
So I'm 54, so I am a Generation Xer. And then they're the millennials who are younger than us, or younger than me. And the younger generation uses a term called, I feel some kind of way.
Right.
Or I'm in my feelings.
Right.
That's a frequency. When you feel something, it's something you can't see, but you feel. And emotion, those are frequencies. Those are vibrations, right? They come as waves, they come as sounds. And so what would then denote a first frequency? A first frequency is anything and everything that comes from the Creator, that the Creator created first. We must be first frequency because God or the Creator created us first. We must be the chosen people because God, the Creator, chose us first to be the manifestation, physical manifestation of heaven on earth. We are heaven on earth walking, personified. That's first frequency.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, because you go into the metaphysics, so how powerful is the mind in this whole idea?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So because
a
we are
lot of us
first frequency people,
right?
we have the power of God within us 24/7. There's nothing we can do about it. So guess what?
So if I'm thinking about fuckery, I'm creating fuckery in my life, is what you're saying.
As a God. So that way, that frequency is so damn, that fuckery is so goddamn strong because you're doing it as a God. You are creating with the creator. We co-create with the creator. So guess what, bro? If I'm a nigger and I identify as a nigger, I'm taking my God power, my first frequency, and making myself the best fucking nigger I can be. How crazy is that shit? What has happened is all of us have been lost in our own holodeck. That's what when in metaphysics they say that Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman would tell you that you are the thinker who thinks the thing that makes the thing happen. So that means that you are God creator, and you have the ability to create whatever world, whatever reality you choose. But if you choose to identify and create a reality out of a false identification, wouldn't that make sense that you are running to stand still, that you can't get out first frequency if you identify as a Negro? You can't get out of your problems and solve your problems if you're in the frequency of the nigger. You're just running to stand still, and then as it goes chronologically, we run out of time. And so my job now for the rest of my life is to truly wake us up beyond just an African identity, but a God identity, a first frequency identity. Because that is what, when I talked about this new battle of war that we're in, it's not going to be about the ground game. It's going to be about the air game. And the air game is consciousness, and consciousness is first frequency. Okay. The unification of Black people is not going to come from us all standing together, holding hands, singing "Kumbaya fucking Yah, my Lord." It's going to come from us being in first frequency as an individual, connecting to other first frequencies around the world. And as long as we are in that frequency together in unison, we change our entire reality. Go ahead.
Question. So we're gonna go to how I ran into you, because this is hot, but you have come up with a system that individuals can use to manifest the consciousness and to support the consciousness in the physical reality. When I first heard you, you was talking with, well, I ain't gonna say first heard you, I was listening to you, but I just happened to be listening to you and Kyle speaking about the concept of Digitalnomics. Because I think this is a great segue for us to get into this, because one of the major pieces that a lot of people that are struggling with their consciousness is also struggling with is, like, for example, you had a skill that when you decided that you would no longer be in that world, you had a skill that you was able to go and invest that God thought into to create. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Can you explain the system of Digitalnomics from
No doubt.
and you also coming up with spiritualnomics. You're also coming out with the spiritualnomics and Ujanomics, but it's all wrapped up in it. So
So I became basically a Black or melanated Robin Hood. When I found out that these fuckers stole everything from us, regurgitated everything that we did, and what they couldn't figure out and couldn't understand because they were too stupid, ignorant to do so, and illiterate, that they just made shit up. Like the white boy on the stick. When I realized that, I said, well, okay, I'm going to take everything that I've learned from them, and I'm going to use it for me and for my people. They taught me how to make money without leaving the house. Been doing that for 20 years. They taught me how to create generational wealth. They taught me how to master the internet and make money on the internet without having to go to a job to punch in. Whenever you have, Robert Kiyosaki taught me that we're all rich in America because 90% of the population lives on $1 or $2 a day. So technically, even if you're making minimum wage, you are rich because you're making more money that you just don't have access because of the way the economy and the system is structured. But you'll never be wealthy. Why? Because whenever you have to physically show up to earn any dollar amount, wealth cannot be manifested. You will be rich, but you will be in a boundary. You are in a ceiling that you will never escape from. As a matter of fact, most of us just die working for a living. But wealth is when you don't have to physically show up. Now, when we're talking about these higher frequencies, that's a higher frequency of thinking and consciousness to learn, to embody. But it's definitely a first frequency pimp move, right? Because only God can just make money out of thin air. I literally think it, like Dr. Johnny Coleman, think the thought makes the thing. I think it, I write it, I produce it, I put it out there and send it out there, and then thousands come back. My first book was How to Make Millions When Thousands Have Been Laid Off. So I took from them what they taught me. The price that I paid was the racial battle fatigue, the assimilation, all the bullshit that I went through working with these sumbitches. But guess what? Now I am going to exclusively teach this to my people, and I don't give a fuck about the fallout. Right? So you can come to me and say, oh, Philippe, that's divisive. Oh, Philippe, you need to be more inclusive. Oh, Philippe, all white people ain't bad. No, they're not. But guess what? I don't give a fuck, and I ain't got time to find who the good white people are.
Right.
Okay? So I decided, once I had mastered this thing called the internet, social media marketing, internet marketing, email marketing, content marketing, affiliate marketing, once I learned these systems, I said, okay, how can I take this, give it to my people? So I started with Kaba, and I made him a digital guinea pig. So I just called him up. I said, yo, I really like to work with you, man, because from talking to you, I understand a lot of the scholars are financially strapped and struggling. A lot of the scholars have died.
Broke.
Completely broke and decimated, which makes no fucking sense to me at all. And so I said, bro, let me see if I can work with you and see if I can teach you how to take what you already have, right? Because everybody has a story. Every black human being has a story. If you're over the age of 10, you have a story. Let's take your story out of you and put it into a physical digital form that can be sold multiple times. Right? Now, let me take you back for a minute. When I was coming up in that system, assimilated system, in Chicago, with my .com empowerment, I got a chance to interview Stedman Graham. I reached out to him. He had his first book, I forgot the name of the damn book, Lead Your Own Life or something to that effect. Anyway, Stedman Graham. He called me up and said, hey man, I'd love to talk to you and mentor you. If you need any help, let me know. Bet. He had an office at NBC Towers in Chicago. I went up there, we met 3 times. He laid out the whole Oprah backstory and the back end marketing and the branding and positioning of this icon. And he says, Philippe, at the end of the day, it's about producing one thing and selling it to millions and millions of people. That's all it is. That's the game. That's all it is. Now, a lot of people don't know the Oprah back end story. So I'm gonna give you a little game and I'm gonna bring it all and come back with it, all right? At the time that Oprah came to Chicago from Baltimore, AM Chicago, Phil Donahue was the shit. In fact, I model myself right now in terms of how I do interviews off of Phil Donahue, because that was the first dude that I ever saw that I said, I'd like to do that. You know, I would watch Farrakhan on Donahue. I would watch Francis Cress Welsing on Donahue. Francis, that was 1985 that Francis Cress was on. I remember this. Oprah comes to Chicago, and at that time, the number one thing was soap operas. They're gone now, but it was soap operas. And so Oprah, and this is where I think a lot of people come down on her about what have you. Okay, understood, but she has to be assimilated to make that Negro money, because if she had an African identity and consciousness, they would
never pick her.
In the story. Okay, so
Right.
you got to respect the game and understand what the price she's paying to be Oprah in that frequency. But Oprah said, I want to create a show that at that time, I want to speak to all of the white women who are at home taking care of their kids, watching soap operas while their husbands are out working. So we're going to talk about men and relationship issues. We're going to speak directly to that brand, directly to that audience, because we know that's where the money is. They're already at home sitting watching soap operas. So they're looking for acknowledgement. That is the genius that was behind building the Oprah brand. No offense, because I love her to pieces. It was never a black or white issue.
Right.
It was a commerce issue. It was a demographic issue, which happened to be white. Okay, white women who are at home at that time, white men, now black men couldn't do this, but at the time, white men could have one job and be able to feed the whole family. Black men, we had to have 3, 4, 5 fucking jobs, okay? So if there was a middle-class black woman, she was rocking with Oprah because she was like, oh God, I'm like them. So that's assimilation. So she spoke to the assimilated black household and the white household of women who was watching soap operas and was bored out of their goddamn mind, but had all of these stories in a full life, but nobody acknowledged it because everything was driven by men. That's how she tore Phil Donahue's ass up. Another story, and I'm gonna come back to full mass so you can understand what's happening. Oprah Winfrey never would have happened if it wasn't for a dude named Roger King of King World. If you ever look at old Oprah shows, you'll see at the end it says King World.
King World. Wait, Little
Roger
Rascals.
King.
That's right. He bought Little Rascals, and he also
Jeopardy,
put Byron Allen
Wheel
in
of
the
Fortune.
business.
Mm-hmm.
He also put Byron Allen in.
That's right. That's absolutely 100%. That's right. So as you know the story, Byron was trying to sell his shows and got a chance to meet with Roger King. Roger King hipped him to the game and said, yeah, these guys are laughing at you. I play golf with them every day. They don't want to fuck with you because you're black. He said, I didn't even know racism existed at that level. Because, when you're a rich white billionaire, this dude was a billionaire at the time, totally disconnected from racism. White people don't even know what racism is until a black person is in the room. Otherwise, it's an all-white world. They don't feel anything. They're completely isolated. He said, when I went to pitch Oprah to get her on the networks, they told me, I'm not putting that nigger on my network. That is how they saw Oprah. That's how they see all of us. Roger King, without Oprah, Oprah without Roger King, would have just been AM Chicago. She might have did that and then her ass would have been back in Baltimore. Bringing it back home. So Stedman is sitting me down, peeping me all of this game. And I said, okay, I got it. He says, Philippe, what you're doing right now is great, but you're leaving money on the table. Fast forward, Kaba will tell you the story. I told him that story. And he was sitting in ShopRite in New York in his car, and it hit him. I said, Kaba, you are leaving money on the table. Kaba's like, hey, I'm struggling a little bit. I got my pension, I'm retiring. you know, but it ain't, you know,
it ain't nothing to make
ain't nothing to write home about. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
And I said, dude, I said, you got all these DVDs, you got all these lectures. If you was a singer, you'd be Johnny Gill and be able to sing Happy Birthday and fucking sell 1 million goddamn records, because everybody loves you. Everybody just listens to you, and you have this decorum and this way of just teaching. You are amazing. Let's take your DVDs and digitize them and then sell them to the masses. And here's the thing about consciousness, first frequency. Money, wealth is always there. You must become frequency specific to it, but it's always there. It's just in a form that you're not aware of, because you have been taught that you have to go to work to a job, to a just over broke, to earn income. You have never been taught how to use your mind to connect with your first frequency, to create unlimited wealth. That everything that you think, everything that you say, everything that you do is a commodity. You've never been taught that you are the value. You have been taught that you have value.
See, that's what happened when we start doing the truth around here. He froze. Philippe, it froze on me. Let me see if is it still recording me? Check 1 2 1 2 1. See, that's what it does when we get to the critical moments. All right, all right, how are we gonna do this? All right, we still recording. So we're gonna wait for Brother Phil to call back in. Right at the critical moment. That's what happens. You know what I'm saying? So, family, now, part of the issue, because we're gonna get back into the conversation, but so when I heard him discussing this whole Digitalnomics piece, I wanted to figure out what was going on. Because as he says, he sits at home and makes money. He creates value with his content. So I wanted to figure out how could I bring that to my tribe, right? So now we're sitting here and we're talking with the man right now so that you could get it. But hold on, let's see if I can get him back on.
Internet went out. So, you know, this is the crazy thing when you're in those frequencies. This shit
Right.
is real about this damn sabotage, fam. I'm just keeping it on 100.
I was just telling him.
Out here in these streets.
I just told him.
Okay.
I just told him that.
They're like, oh, damn, he's about to drop some shit, and it's like, boom, then the damn thing goes out. Like, come on, honestly, really? You know, now I'm supposed to be stupid and be like, oh, that's just a glitch in the matrix. Bullshit. Anyway, Haru went to his father and said, Dad, we just made, you know, a couple of $100.
Oh, you want to go back? Wait, hold on. You got to go back because you stopped.
Where did I lose you? Where did you lose me?
Right where he was sitting in his car, it hit him that what you were saying.
Okay.
And then you went into.
So Stedman Graham told me, you're leaving money on the table. I shared that story with Kaba. He was sitting in ShopRite parking lot in his car, and it hit him, and that was his aha moment. He had never, up until that point, got it, and it became real to him, and that frequency broke through because Kaba was a 9-to-5 brother. He was a school teacher. He was an educator.
Right.
He was used to getting money from the European system.
Right.
So when you're taught that, you are taught not to think individually. So he's laying in the bed, and Haru comes in and said, Dad, we made all this damn money. Now, I also shared with him a story, another true story, by another guy who taught me the game, Robert G. Allen. Robert G. Allen was the brother, the white brother, I call him, who wrote the book No Money Down. Co-authored 1 Minute Millionaire with Mark Victor Hansen. Robert Allen taught me, he has diabetes, and something happened. He was driving his drop top Rolls Royce, 60 miles an hour, ran smack dab into a tree, was in a coma for 3 or 4 days. He tells me the story. It's in my second book, Shock Wealth System. I tell this entire story and show the photos of his car completely totaled, his Rolls Royce completely totaled. He said, Philippe, I opened my eyes on that 4th day. I looked up and all these doctors were working on me. And the first thought that I had was, I am making more money than these doctors these 4 doctors who are working on me right now. Kaba connected that ShopRite moment with that. And when it happened for him, when I showed him, this is how you do that, it changed him. He's a beast now because I can't stop him. It's like he can't be controlled. He is now an understanding how first frequency, it is our natural state to be wealthy, not an unnatural state. It is if the Creator created everything, created us first, gave us everything, Africa, all of the resources, all the substance, everything that we've ever needed, we are not poor. Poverty is man-made, white man-made. There is no lack and limitation. That's bullshit. That's something that the Amu did to themselves and to us. We are first frequency. We have the ability to manifest any destiny, any reality that we choose to do so. And when we really become frequency specific, when we change the cells literally start to change the cells in our body, we attract money and wealth, and it ain't shit we can do about it. It's just a natural thing. And so when you unlearn that you can't create wealth working, when you have to trade your time for $1, let's say you make $50 an hour. Well, guess what? You can't make $500 an hour. You can't earn it because you got to go to work and make that 50 because it's paying for your time. You got to physically show up. That's not wealth. That's called slavery. It's called sharecropping. It's just another form of sharecropping.
You ain't got to beat us all up.
I'm not beating you up. I'm trying to wake you up, brother, because this is the last bastion of our freedom. You understand? You cannot. Yes, and here's why we are so fucking angry. Right? We're angry, one, because of what has happened to us. We are angry because we wake up to what has happened to us. But you know what? We're really, really, really pissed because we are financially locked into a lifestyle that's not even our own.
Right.
That's the shit that really pissed off.
Right.
You, my queen, got to get up in the morning and do some shit that you really don't like to do, or if you do like to do it, you ain't getting paid or compensated in the way that you should be. Now, if we go into looking at reparations and ADOS, every Black American on this continent minimally should have $1 million in the bank.
Yes.
Maximally $1 trillion each. Right? I've done the math. In fact, I had a guy on, Sean Rochester, who wrote the book, Black Tax. Dr. Edwin Nichols called me up on the phone and said, brah, you need to get this dude on your show. Get this book. He did the math. He did, before even ADOS was a thing, he had done the math.
He cold with it.
Okay.
I agree with you.
I don't care if you have never been to school, you can't read, you can't write, you completely illiterate, all your teeth is missing. You are worth $1 million just by default on the lowest end of the scale. $1 trillion if you're at the top of the scale. So there should be so poverty is man-made. Poverty is not in Africa. Poverty is something that white people made to create and control the resources. But slavery taught us that we have no value, and the only value we have is to serving the white community.
Right.
When you look at a LeBron James, this is going to be very painful, what the fuck I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it because I love my people unconditionally. You look at a LeBron James, you look at a Serena, you look at a Tiger Woods, you look at a Steph Curry, you look at a Michael Jordan, you look at somebody in football, you know, give me a name in football. I don't know. Okay. They are serving white people.
That's right.
The only existence. That's their only existence. Right. They're being paid by white billionaires, plantation owners, to entertain poor white people. So white people can feel like they matter. Poor white people can feel like they matter. This whole system, this whole economy called America, this shit ain't real. And so we must engage and learn, or at least teach our children, how to engage in disruptive economics. Now, what is a disruptive economics? Disruptive economics is any type of economy that is made and earned outside of working for someone else and someone white. That's disruptive. And the only and the best disruptive economics that has the least barrier to entry, what do I mean by that? Meaning that there are a lot of disruptive economies, but you might have to have some money to put into it to make it happen. The internet is the only place where you can start with your cell phone. Right now, you are recording this on your damn cell phone. You are going to make money from this. I'm going to make sure that you do, but you are going to make money from this, and it's your cell phone. So that's why I wrote Digitalnomics, how to create wealth using your smartphone and your tablet, right? Now, again, I am the Black Robin Hood. So I take from whites and I give to the blacks, to my people. And when I say black, black is first frequency. Black is Kemetic. Black is Kemeteru. Black is not just the soil of the people or the color of the soil. It's black people. It's African people. We are, black frequency is black, it's first frequency. All right. So, and I know people get a little confused. You want to get into the labels and all that. Jeff Bezos, who created Amazon. Now, back in the day when I started, I started in 98. Amazon came up in 95?
Yes, I think it was 95.
Yeah, I think they came up in 95. In 1996, Jeff Bezos created affiliate marketing. Never had existed before because it couldn't. The closest thing that you could get to affiliate marketing in the physical world would be consignment. You know how somebody might have some fashions or something and they give them, and they work on consignment and then they get the money. Right. That's as close in the physical world that you can get. But Jeff said, hey, I figured out a way to make even more money. If I give people 4%, only fucking 4%, if I give people 4% to be able to promote anything on Amazon and recommend it to people, then more people are going to buy from my store. Because at the time, he just did books. Amazon was known for books. It didn't do everything else. But he changed the game with affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is the game changer for African Americans. It's the game changer for first frequency Black Americans.
Can you break down affiliate marketing?
If you master this one internet marketing concept and technique, you will never have to work another day in your damn life. Now, I was taught by whites to charge anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 to $50,000 for this information and knowledge, because that's what they charge. There are guys that I know personally right now, white. In fact, Robert G. Allen has a $25,000 boot camp. I have a boot camp. I ain't fucking $25,000 because I can't charge my family that.
Right.
So remember, I made a dedication to say, look, I'm working with my people exclusively. I mean, they might not be able to pay a lot, but whatever they got, we'll take it and work with it. So I'm giving up all the fucking secrets that I've learned from these Europeans and what I have done for myself, what I've done for Kaba, what I've done for others. So now, 5 years later, January 15th will be 5 years for me and Kaba to connect, 2020. He is now selling 40 to 50 books a day. Do the math. That is Digitalnomics. I told him, I said, okay, what we have to do if you're going to do this right is you've got to prime the pump. You've got to tell people this is what you want to do. You need to create an e-course so people can understand the concept of spirituality before religion. So by the time that book comes out, you already have a database that when that book comes out, you click send, and poof, magic happens. And
Right.
That's what has happened. I need to, not want to, I need to teach this to my people. I need to teach this to the children because they don't have as much of a barrier to entry to learn this new language
Right.
of the internet, but also they have not succumbed to the frequencies of racial battle fatigue yet. There's a point when we're all happy, we have goals, we have dreams. We say, I want to grow up and I want to do this and I want to do that. But then something happens and then all of a sudden we become a nigger or a Negro. Let me ask you a question. When you were a little boy or a little girl, did you ever go up to your mom, your dad, or aunt, uncle, or some adult that you hold in high esteem? Did you ever go up and say, yo, when I grow up, I want to be financially struggling all my life? When I grow up, I want to be a fucking alcoholic. I want to be the best goddamn alcoholic ever. When I grow up, I want to be so fucking addicted that I can't even function in life. When I grow up, I want to be a baby mama and a baby daddy. No. This shit happened to you. Ain't nothing wrong with Black people. Something happened to Black people. Understand this. Now, I'm taking you into a universe of ologies, okay? And that universe is psychology, it's neurobiology, it's theology, it's all of these ologies, memetics, quantum physics, astrophysics, micro and macro physics, all of this, understanding trauma, resma medicum. Now, I've had him on the show many times. You must get the book, My Grandmother's Hands. You will understand what has happened to you, but you will also understand how to get rid of it. Trauma, racialized trauma, which is racial battle fatigue. Dr. Nzinga Dalila teaches us about race-based traumatic stress, injury, and violence. So, you are bombarded by racism. You see racism. It starts to affect you. That effect is racial battle fatigue. Racial battle fatigue creates epigenetic tags and trauma tags in the body. Trauma is not stored in the mind, it is stored in the body, called the vagus nervous system. And so from the time that you are a child, you are being imprinted with trauma.
Right.
By the time you are 10, in your teens, you are fucked. You are already programmed, you are already written off that you're not going to succeed, you're not going to have, it's just not going to happen for you. So now you've got to figure out how to take all your dreams and put all that shit on the back burner. Oh, that's just fairy tale. Oh, that's just make believe, right? You have to take all that first frequency, that's natural, first frequency, take all that, go get a job. Get an education, get a job. Well, here's the problem. When you go and get an education, get a job, you get locked into it because now it's tagged to your lifestyle. So you don't have time or know how to make any other type of money because now you might have to have 2 or 3 jobs. Guess what? You're running out of time. It's only 24 hours in a day. You're running out of time. And that's the game. How can I make you a sharecropper? How can I make you serve me without putting chains on your feet?
Right. I mean, we too busy. We're too busy to think about anything else.
I cannot blame no Black person for acting up or acting out because I know something happened to them. Ain't shit wrong with R. Kelly. Ain't shit wrong with Bill Cosby. Ain't shit wrong with Kevin Hart. Something happened to them over time that created the person that you see.
Right.
They didn't go up to their mom, dad. Bill Cosby didn't grow up to his mom, dad. Hey, mom, dad, you know, I got a concept when I grow up. I really want to, you know, drug women, mostly white women, and then have sex with them. That wasn't some fucking goal for Bill Cosby.
Right.
Something happened to that dude. He was born in Jim Crow. He was at the height of his career during Jim Crow. He was a multimillionaire during Jim Crow. When he made all this money on stage, he had to go out the fucking back door and still work. And that shit takes a toll on you and makes you fucking crazy. So he says, fuck it, I'm going to get back at white bitches because I'm going to go drug them and fuck them. Let's just keep it real, fam. Sickness.
Allegedly.
Nothing is wrong with Black people. Something happened to us, and it's happening as I speak. It is happening for your entire life. When you wake up, you have to know, you have to invest in this. Nothing is wrong with you. You're not crazy. You're not dumb. You're not stupid. You're not uneducated. You're not even poor. You might think you are, but you're not. All of those are false signals from a false identity where you only have two. You're either a Negro or a nigger. You're going to manifest a reality as a Negro or a nigger. Now, I'm trying to teach you in disruptive economics how to manifest in first frequency. That's the game. That's my agenda. It's out there. That is my agenda.
One of the major things that attracted me to the concept was that first I heard Kaba talking about it, but then I started hearing about a lot of the other elders in the movement that you have been helping with this concept, because how can I put it? You started realizing, in a sense, early in the consciousness game, how a lot of our elders have been taken advantage of. How did, with all this information that you started getting, how did it make you feel to understand? How did it make you feel to find out that a lot of individuals that's dropping the information that you was getting, they were basically dropping it for pennies? People taking advantage of them, people bringing them to the cities to do this and give them a few pennies and send them away. Like, for example, you said Kaba was living on his retirement. Yeah. When we done seen Kaba in what, 5 to 6 videos, 6, 7, 8 videos? More than that now,
no doubt. Facts. He's told me horror stories that I can't even fucking share with the family.
I understand.
I can't because of, you know, confidentiality and what happened. But when I found out what was going on with our scholars, well, first of all, let me take it back. I have been in the room in an event with Zig Ziglar, where he made so much money selling his tape CDs and books and shit in the back of the room. They had to have a fucking Brinks truck come and take the money because it was too much to physically carry out and take to the bank. You understand what the fuck I'm talking about? Did you hear what I said?
I know. I heard you.
I have seen checks for $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 for one fucking speaking engagement from these people. One speaking engagement. When I saw what was happening to my scholars, to our scholars, I said, this is absolute bullshit. It's just my duty, dude. It's like when you wake up, it's your duty. It's African. You've got to give it back. You've got to. I'll take a percentage because that's affiliate marketing. So I'm going to take a percentage. But bro, I can't charge you $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for the knowledge that I have. Yeah, it's worth 100, it's worth millions of dollars, but I can't do that because the first thing I have to do is first I have to convince you that all of the shit you've done is not correct. 90% of the people who do all of these disruptive or engage in these disruptive economics, the reason and it happened to me, the reason it doesn't work is because it's not that it doesn't work, it's that you've been trained for it not to.
Right.
So I'm sitting with Robert Kiyosaki. At the time, Robert Kiyosaki was going into oil. He tells a story about how this oil tycoon he wanted to meet. The oil tycoon calls him up and says, be out to Madagascar tomorrow. Oh, shit. Okay, how do I do that? So he had to get a private jet, fly out to Madagascar to meet with this mentor who was going to hip him to the oil game. Those are sacrifices. We don't know how to do those sacrifices because here's the one thing that differentiates the second frequency European to the third and fourth frequency Negro and nigger. The 1% second frequency people trust each other enough to follow each other's lead. They know if I don't know something, I know who to go to get the information to get to my needs met. So now Robert Kiyosaki has oil, real estate, intellectual property, all of that. Why are we not able to do that? Well, it's because we are identifying in a frequency, third and fourth, where wealth is only, the nigger only makes wealth hooping, doing drugs, rapping, stripping, what have you. The Negro goes get an education, gets a nice high-paying job, hopefully, and maybe if they're working it out, can invest and have a nice home or what have you, but it's a cap to it.
Right.
So the nigger hates the Negro, right? Because they look at them coons and selling out. They called Oprah a coon. They called Tyler Perry a coon. They selling out. Okay. Yep. Well, hey, it is what it is. That's the only way they're going to manifest that level of wealth in that economy. They're under white frequency, second frequency. They're under that frequency. That's how they're going to make money. All right. But the Negro doesn't want to be the nigger. Right? I don't want to be that nothing ass nigga on the corner, which was me. Okay? So making money, then in your mind, you have to have a hustle. Listen to our language. What the fuck is a side hustle? This is not a side hustle. Real.
Right.
That you are made to do that. Cardi B was created. You think she wanted to strip when she was a little girl? You think she went up to her mom and dad and said, man, I can't wait to grow up so I can fucking strip? No.
Maybe Cardi B. I'm just saying, but
maybe you might have a little something there, dog. I'm just saying, maybe a little bit, bro. But no. We just messing with you. But Nicki Minaj, all of that's not right. That's and so as when in that nigger frequency, you are so low on the totem pole of manifestation. Let's take Nipsey Hussle. Let's take that situation. Okay, Eric Holder. In this book that I'm talking about, from Nigger to Netcher, Nipsey Hussle was fourth frequency. Brother in the hood. Compton. Rapper. But he, as all of us, have a first frequency. And his first frequency was rapping. Jay-Z's first frequency is rapping. Beyonce's first frequency is singing. We all have it, but we sell it and co-opt it to second frequency to create our wealth because we don't know how to own it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Understand?
Right.
So all black people have, if you let us in that door, we're going to fuck it up. We're going to tear that shit up. We're going to go straight to the top. We're going to be the best of the best of the best of the best because that's who created us. God created us first. We're first frequency. So a Serena's going to be a Serena. A Tiger Woods is going to be a Tiger Woods. A Byron Allen is going to be a Byron Allen. We're going to go in there. Whenever we break through, we get in there, we're going to tear it up. So they have all these laws and all these processes to try to keep us out because they know when we get in, we set a new standard.
Right.
Nipsey Hussle says, fuck it. I'm going to do this shit myself. I'm going to sell my shit. Like same story for MC Hammer. MC Hammer said, fuck it. I'm going to sell my CDs out of my trunk of my car. I'm going to go to these stadiums, these white stadiums. I'm going to dance for these people, right? Okay, great. That made MC Hammer. When Capitol Records came to him and said, we want to give you a deal, he turned down Capitol Records 5 times. Why? He says, because I make more money out of the trunk of my car than the fucking deal that you're giving me right now. Nipsey Hussle, in the digital age, started making all of this money and becoming highly successful. But here's how you know the brother is totally first frequency, because he says, fuck this, I'm gonna build up my community. I am going to build my community. Mistake number one, he built this community while he was living in the community. I'll get into that for a moment, because here's what happened with Eric Holder, and this is the dynamic between third and fourth frequency. In that fourth frequency, when you become successful and identify as a quote unquote real nigga, or whatever that nigga frequency with the A is, everybody's hating on you because you're doing something they can't do. You got something they ain't got. Eric Holder, true story, had to borrow $2 to buy a hamburger that day. He didn't have a car. His girlfriend was driving him. His girlfriend was all up on Nip trying to get a selfie. Eric Holder was broke as fuck. And the last motherfucking thing, his own chick is G'ing on this dude.
Right. She trying to
Think
get
about the
selfie.
mentality.
Right.
I am broke as fuck.
Right.
I have to borrow money from my girlfriend to get the cheeseburger, and she has to fucking drive me to get the goddamn cheeseburger. How do I feel as a man?
Yeah. That's a tough situation to be in.
Nip
and she's trying to get a selfish, right?
No doubt, no
Nip
doubt. I'm just
shine.
keeping this on as much real as I possibly can for people to understand the framework of the mentality of what happened. Nip said, hey man, whatever, you're a snitch or you excommunicated. I don't want to fuck with you no more. That was a trauma. Okay, so every black man in America, and every black woman in America has one trauma response that can kill you and everybody around you. And that's the trauma of abandonment. When you abandon me and make me outside of my group. Now, I had Dr. Luann Brizendine on my show a few times. Dr. Luann Brizendine has been on Oprah. She's written bestseller books. She's a neuroscientist and neurobiologist out here in San Francisco. I was doing this piece because I asked her, I said, can hate be hardwired in the brain? She says, yes, hate and bigotry and racism can be hardwired in the brain. And what happens is that when those hateful people, KKK, Aryan Nation, alt-right, when they are excommunicated from their group, it is like a sense of dying in the brain and the body.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Holder felt like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? That's my only thing that I got going for me that makes me feel like I fucking matter.
Right. And I can't even leave if I wanted to.
I can't leave Compton. I can't get out. Now I got to be, so the rest of the story is the history of the story. Nip, you can't, this is why I do this via the internet. You cannot help people at the same level and frequency of the people.
Mm.
You cannot help fourth frequency if you are fourth frequency. You can't help third frequency if you're in third frequency, because they will kill you, because you are now moving away from them outside of an area and realm where they can feel like they are connected with you. So we see this in the family dynamic. You get successful, maybe your mother, maybe your father, your aunt, uncle, sister, brother start saying, nigga, you ain't shit. You know, you're an alcoholic. You ain't all that. You ain't really real. Not, you know, who you all brand new. Who you think you is? You ain't shit. You ain't this, that, to try to keep you frequency specific to them.
Right.
To them.
Where they're comfortable with you at.
You can't serve the terrestrial plane from the terrestrial plane. You have to serve it from a celestial plane to the terrestrial plane. Now, what does that mean? Nip, build your fucking neighborhood. Help your community. But don't live in that motherfucker. Don't be that accessible, because even though, yeah, you might have security, you got comfortable and say, I ain't even gonna need security. This is my shit. No, bro. There are people who are hurting so bad that they would rather kill you then see you do better than them. That's just a fact of that level of frequency. But guess what? Eric Holder was made. Eric Holder didn't grow up, come out of the mother's room saying, Mom, Dad, when I grow up, listen, I'm taking it back. I'm going to repeat this. Mom, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be so fucking poor that I have to borrow $2 to get a cheeseburger from my girl. And I want her to have to drive me to get the cheeseburger. You think that shit was a goal for him?
No, sir.
You think that was something he was really relishing, wanting to do? Like, oh my God, I can't wait to be so. I'm a Crip. I'm a what a blood or whatever. I'm whatever gang associate. I'm all this, and I can't even fucking pay attention. You know what that feels like? I know because I've been that broke. I've been on welfare, bro. I've been homeless. I know Eric Holder. I know that dude. So this is why I know First Frequency and what I'm doing, and I know this shit works. Because I have been that nothing ass nigga that people avoid, thirsty ass nigga always begging for money. I ain't got a car, let me get a ride, right? Encroaching upon your you don't even want to be around him because you know, oh, here come this begging ass nigga, right? You know how we do.
Right.
I was that dude. So I understand the dynamics, but then I didn't know that Eric Gardner, me, and all the other brothers out here in the struggle, we were conditioned and made. You were born a netcher. You were made to be a nigger. And that is not who we are. So I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to let you go and do your thing. Family. Have you ever gone up to your little girl or your little boy if you have kids? Have you ever gone up to your little boy, your little girl, laying in the bed or in your arms, and you look down at them? Did you ever look at them and say, when you grow up, you're going to be a good nothing-ass little nigga? Feel me now. Feel me. You understand where I'm going with this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Take it.
Oh, baby, when you grow up, you're going to be a good baby mama. You're going to be strung out on meth or crack. You're going to be a good little single mother. Yeah, you ain't going to be shit just like your daddy. Do you do that with your baby?
Hell no.
What made you? I want you to ask the question, when did you become a nigger? When did you become a Negro? What the fuck forces made you what you are and you are not? What made you that false identity? Because it wasn't a fucking goal. Whatever you're dealing with right now, family, whatever the fuck struggle you in right now, that's not God's struggle. That's man-made, white man-made struggle. That shit was made for you. I'm not a Bible person anymore. But one piece of scripture that holds true. They, meaning white, European, meant it for harm, but God, the creator, meant it for good. If you can get this and understand that you are First Frequency, you are nature, you are co-creator with the creator, you are God with skin and bone. If you can just take a moment and step back. The human is the only person that can step back and analyze what they're thinking.
That's right.
We're the only species that can do that. And we mastered it in Africa. That's how we built pyramids and did shit that can't be replicated and still duplicated to this day. This is how the Dogon was able to see a star cluster in Sirius B hundreds of years before there was a telescope to see it.
Right.
That's in us. That is us. When you wake up tomorrow, now, I don't want you to go and wake up tomorrow morning and just go and start slapping white people and shit around. Because we don't want you to get that radical. But I do want you to think this, that if you are living a false identity as a Negro or a nigger, third or fourth frequency, what in your environment is supporting that identity? What is supporting that falsehood? What is supporting that false identification? And then how do you start burning away the false people? Because if you're a nigger, chances are your top 5 friends are niggers. If you are a Negro, chances are your top 5 friends are Negroes.
Right.
Can I keep it real with you? Huh?
Right.
So when I learned that, okay, if I'm poor and all my friends are poor, how the fuck, I'm on a treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to do something differently tomorrow that I didn't do today. I got to wake up and I have to, based upon how I absorb information and process information, I either have to read a book, listen to Hatem, I have to maybe watch a video of Philippe or something. I've got to do something differently, because here's the thing, real talk, it happened to me. Okay, Philippe, you know, you're supposed to get up and you're supposed to find your top 5 people that you want to be like. Guess what? The top 5 people that I fucking wanted to be like didn't want to have shit to do with me. Because I was a fucking nothing ass nigga. They were running from me when they see me come. So I had to create a virtual top 5 people. I wrote the book called My Four Fathers. Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Dr. Dennis Rupp, Brian Tracy. I studied those guys because I was assimilated. They became virtual fathers and role models and figures of success for me. They wouldn't return my phone call at one point, but as I started studying what they studied and doing what they're doing and mimicking what they did, I started pulling myself up and out. And then they actually became my Fab 5 or my favorite, you know? So now my top 5 is Kaba, Oba, Jeffries, Nzinga, you, all of the people that you see on the PM shows. Now I've got a system of support, but I'm not physically around these people. I'm virtually around these people via frequency. So don't let your poverty, lack of education, and your current situation stop you from manifesting your highest frequency, because it's a frequency you can tap into at any time you want to. In metaphysics, we call it the Akashic records. In quantum physics, it's called the unified field. There's a concept called the observer effect. When you observe something, that's when it starts to manifest and become concretized and starts liking and attracting like to become demonstrable physically in your environment. But it starts with the thought. It starts with the intention. So I want you to set the intention. I am not a nigger. I'm not a Negro. I am first frequency. End of story.
All right, so how did they get the book? Is it out yet?
Which one? Well, one I'm writing, That's Your Nigger, that's not out yet. But
oh, wait! You gave me an exclusive?
I gave you an exclusive, bro. I'm writing it as I speak. Yeah.
Okay, all right, family. Listen,
it's gonna be the game changer. It's gonna be the game changer because everybody that I have shared, all the scholars that I've shared this with, I shared it with Kaba. He said, "Bro, this is okay." So Oba the Shaka, I'm working with him on his books. And
thank God. Did you tell him he got a book that I've been waiting about?
Yeah, I surely did. I did tell him that story. He cracked up. I did tell him. I said, this brother been waiting for you for 20 years to get this goddamn book written on Dr. O. Come on, man. So he's writing.
Now,
he's writing the Dogon system. Go ahead.
I just posted a story on my on Gye-Nyame Journey page, and it's talking about apprenticeship.
Mm-hmm.
Being the new, taking the place of college. He was talking about this in the early 90s.
That's right.
I've been waiting for that damn
That's
book,
right.
Man.
Oh, it's going to be the bomb, brother. Trust me. There's some shit, man. Let me tell you, some stuff in it is leveling the playing field. But what he's going to talk about, he's going to teach you the Dogon system of apprenticeship. Sodai, Jiri So, Benny So, Bolo So, and Sodai. Sodai, Kaba and I last Thursday, we meet every Thursday night. Midnight his time, 9 p.m. my time. we sat up for probably about an hour, maybe 90 minutes, just delineating who would register as a Sodai. Okay, so we came up with Sammy Davis Jr., Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan. Those are Sodaya. Sodaya, the concept of a Sodaya is there's 3 levels. Imitation, assimilation, and innovation. Those 3 things. So we first imitate the master, whoever is, if you want to be a basketball player, let's using Michael Jordan. So you start imitate. Well, I'll use myself. When I was learning Kung Fu. Okay, so I would imitate all the moves that my brothers and sisters in the dojo would do, and I would look identical to them. I would literally move my hand a certain way. Bob, bam, I'm imitating. I couldn't get it. It took me 3 years to what we call in Kung Fu, it was to be able to do an effect, to have some type of effect, to have some type of palm change, joint lock that I could do, and then continue to move and continue locking people up. I couldn't get it. I went home. I was crying. And 3 years in, I said, I'm not going to give up. 3 years in, I woke up and I remember something's happened to me. I went to the dojo that night because this is in Chicago, rest in power, to my Sifu, Tony Roberts, who was like a father to me and father to us, taught us Bakwa Chang. I went into the dojo, we did our warm up and all of that. Okay, now it's time to play, as he talks about, which is like, okay, so we're going to do a technique where I want you to go from Sankyo to Nikai-Jo to Koda Daish to whatever. So whatever the sequence was. I did it and it was fucking flawless. It was like it was in me. That's assimilation. Right. That's assimilation. Then here's what happens. There's a brother in the dojo named Zuberi. Shout out to Zoo if you're watching this. He would do this freestyle, man. He would do this freestyle where he would just, it wasn't the kata that we, the rote kata that we all do. It was just freestyling in all the techniques. That is innovation. When you go from imitation to innovation to start making the style your own.
Right.
Bruce Lee, Sodaya. He's the standard. He took all of the best and became his own. So this book that Oba is doing is groundbreaking, game changer. And I'm taking all of what I'm learning from Dr. O and Professor Kaba, and I'm saying this is how you learn first frequency. This is how you manifest at first frequency level. You might not be able to find someone physically to apprentice under. You're apprenticing by going to the Kemetic Wisdom School. You're apprenticing by watching the Gye-Nyame and my show. That's apprenticeship. That's apprenticeship. I now, because of my apprenticeship under Kaba, Jeffries, Oba, Nana, our ancestors, Nana Asa Hilliard, Chancellor Wynne, I apprenticed virtually in frequency under these people. I haven't physically sat down and been taught by these people. But now, as a result of that, I've taken all of that, synthesized it, imitated it, assimilated it, and now I'm Sodaian with it.
Right. We call it in Gye-Nyame, we talk about the levels of learning. It's not imitation. You got my mind moving. It's memorization, intelligence of the mind, and intelligence of the heart. Mm-hmm. Through 3 levels. You know what I'm saying? Go through them, because an animal can learn to memorize something, right, and regurgitate it. Right. Then you got intelligence of the mind, where you start working through it and start being able to discuss it and explain it. Then you got intelligence of the heart, which is the highest form of intelligence, because now it's part of you. So now people can see it in you. That's what I'm saying? you might have forgotten the stuff that everybody else you forgot, but people can see it on you. It's yours now.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, because I said this about Dr. O last night. I say it about you too. Say it about Kaba and about many of our scholars. When I see you doing your thing, you glow, you radiate. There's a light that is emanating from you when you are doing your thing, when you're talking to the people. I've seen you. I said, this dude is fucking glowing. How the fuck is his brother glowing? I mean, he's like on fire. When you are first frequency and you're synthesizing, you're downloading from first frequency, and you're emoting and you're sharing, you are almost in an out-of-body experience. You are at that moment experiencing what it feels like to be Sodaya. Because you're not imitating, you're not innovating, you're not imitating, you're not assimilating, you are innovating. You are in that flow. You are in what we call the spirit. And you'll say things that you'll say, damn, I'm glad this is being recorded, because I wouldn't be able to remember it on my damn own. That's how you know you are downloading at the Sodaya level.
That's real, man, because people be asking me, say that again.
Yes.
I don't. Listen,
yes.
I'm done.
See, one of the reasons why I knew I was frequency specific to you, when we started talking, I said, Hatem is me. This is my dude right here. I am this guy. I'm you. You are me. I know you. I said, you're doing the same thing that I'm doing. So let me share with you how I'm doing it. And maybe that will help you do what you do even better. I don't care who does it. I care that you do it. I need, okay, and let me just keep this very, very real, because this is serious. This shit is lonely sometimes, bro. Okay? I sit up in this room and I download from the cosmos. And I experience sometimes such dark days of the soul, because it's the most painful thing in the world to be able to know that you can change people's lives, but the people don't know that their lives deserve to be changed.
I could have freed more if they only knew they were slaves.
Man, listen to me, man. Listen to me. I'm trying not to get emotional and choke up, because that shit.
I feel you. But hey, what we're gonna do is, I want to thank you for sharing with us. And you know, Gye-Nyame, stand up, give brother a round of applause. Now I want to remind y'all, you're now listening to Gye-Nyame Journey Media. You was on the anime. I appreciate that, girl. You was on it this time. This is a Heart of a Simba production. We want to give shouts out to brother Philippe Mathews. Of course, you know, once again, it's a Heart of a Simba production. Strive to blow up your old paradigm. We just blow them up. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Uncle Jobson, that fam.
Yes. Peace. And man, now I gotta get ready. Oh my God, I don't know how I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna have to call.